Students and parents, welcome to Open House 2020. This is World History. My name is Lauren Velez, and I have your students for this full school year, or perhaps if you were in the double block 8-9 class, for just half a year. World History is a required course to graduate. What I'd like you to see at this point is my Google Classroom. On the first page of the Google Classroom, on the streaming column, we have my Zoom link. I will leave it there for students to find. I will try to keep it at the top so students can come into class more easily and smoothly on a daily basis. I'd like you also to notice at the top then the classwork. In classwork, I have our first day information, which we've gone over this week with class policies. I have our textbook. Students were all given a textbook, and they also have access to the online textbook in a PDF file. Then you can notice here I have the Renaissance. That's the first chapter we will start with. Again, this is a survey course. We're going to cover about 500 years of world history. It's really an introduction to so many things. So we'll start with the Renaissance, and then we're going to go to the Protestant Reformation. But you can see here I have a lesson plan, I have some assignments, and I have due dates listed for the assignments. But let's go back up to world history procedures. Under procedures, I went over this with the students when they came into class. I talked about preparation, their attendance, and nothing here is going to be super different or crazy than you've heard other places. I did suggest the students have some sort of notebook so we could write down a few things in class as we go over them when we have our remote learning. I like to go over things that are specifically tested on, like essays, like give me 3 reasons that would make Da Vinci or Michelangelo a good example of a Renaissance man. So they have them in their notes. They can refer back to them when they're tested on it Friday, September 11th. So in terms of preparation, nothing too exciting, but the idea of having a folder and a notebook to write down information. Attendance, we're going to follow the policies of the school. You're out 2 days, you get 2 days to make up work. I suggested that students let me know when they're sick and they can't get their work done, particularly when we're in this remote learning environment. When we come back to school, there's lots of things we look at for behavior, but I really emphasize that we have appropriate behavior towards other students and towards me. And of course, headphones are always an issue. Headphones, cell phones, all that technology in school. In terms of grading, the things that have changed this year deal with the 65%, what was last year for a D, it's now going to be a 60. And the other thing I'd like to emphasize deal with the midterm and final as per board policy. There will be a midterm. It'll be included in the second quarter. There'll be a final included in the fourth quarter grade. All of the homework that I create, all the assignments I create help the students prepare for the test. So I want the homework turned in properly, turned in on time. If the homework is late by the student, they can have half credit. I do not want to see homework turned in after the test. For example, when students turn in homework in November for the Renaissance unit we've done in August and September, it hasn't helped them for the test. And that's the goal of homework, which is to practice. So students will have time in class to do homework, time during remote learning. I'd like to see homework turned in on time. Homework that is late after the test is given will be a 0. The other thing I'd like to emphasize with students is expectations. I'd like to see the students engage in the content, engage in class activities, participate. And that's a challenge for students. I know they don't always have to love the content. Well, let's talk about what's going on with school. Let's talk about what interests the kids. After we've gone over the content, and some kids may choose to work and not want to chit-chat about life, but if they engage, I just think they will feel better about themselves, better with the content, and have a greater understanding. And I will have a great understanding of them. I've listed here also some remote learning procedures, and essentially, as you will hear with lots of teachers, we're going to be in Google Classroom. We're going to Zoom on a daily basis. Now, I can be on Zoom the whole class period. Students can certainly stay on until I am done instructing them, and then they can do their independent work. When they're on Zoom, proper behavior is important, being attentive and focused, asking questions. You're just generally following the North Hills Code of Conduct. Certainly, when you have a question, parents, or when students have a question, they can email me. I should be available from 8 to 3 every day, 8 to 3:30, excuse me. Hopefully I'll get on at 7 daily. But I like to keep I'd like to be responsible and respond to your questions and concerns during school hours, the evenings. Certainly, I may be checking my work, checking homework, checking my email. I can't guarantee I'll always be responding in the evenings. The last page of my opening procedures is my syllabus. So here you can see all the different topics we're going to cover this year. Again, it's a very broad course. We cover, again, about 500 years of history. We're trying to cover the globe. There's a lot to cover, and I introduce students to a lot of different topics. I'm hoping by the end of the year they find 3 sections interesting. They want to learn more, maybe 5, maybe 10, but we're exposing them to a lot of different things. Some of the units are repetitive of some things they've done before, like the Age of Discovery would deal with like Columbus and Magellan. The scientific revolution would talk about things they've studied in science class, like Copernicus and Galileo's ideas, culminating with Newton's ideas. But if we look at like our second quarter, we're going to focus all on revolutions, the English and the French. We'll do the American, but the major revolution in world history is the French Revolution. The American Revolution we'll spend a few days on, maybe 2, maybe 3. We'll see how that, how the Americans maybe try to are supported so much by the French, which is important for the French Revolution. But we really try to get a world perspective, and that is what I'd like to emphasize to you. Parents and students, I really want to encourage you, when you need something, let me know. Email me, please. We're living through changing times, things we've never experienced before, so if there's anything I could do or a situation you wanted to inform me about, please let me know. I know at my house, there's a lot of us trying to work. I have 4 kids, and my husband works from home with this pandemic, so, it's just a challenge. Thank you, parents, and I hope you have a good night. If I cannot agree that.